I welcome you all to MOOC's course entitled Community Engagement and Social Responsibility. I will be discussing Unit 5 today, entitled Research and Innovation in Community Engagement Related Issues. This unit has two modules. The second module is about rural distress, rural poverty, impact of COVID-19 on migrant laborers, and mitigation of disaster. The learning objectives of the course are: the learner will be able to understand the concept of rural distress, examine the current status of rural distress in India, understand the concept of rural poverty, and analyze the impact of COVID-19, especially to migrant labor. The whole unit revolves around some specific points, which are rural distress, rural poverty, measures for poverty alleviation, impact of COVID-19, special reference to migrant worker, mitigation of disasters like COVID-19, community engagement and sustainable development goals. In the interest of learners, this module has been divided into 6 parts. Module 2, Part 1. In first part of Module 2, we will be discussing about concept of rural distress, its current status in India. So what can you see on the slides which talk about rural distress? What things can be seen here? You would be able to see some pictures which have been taken as a news article from Financial Express and Economic and Political Weekly, where they have highlighted that India's path out of rural distress. They have talked about widows of farmer suicide victims in Vidarbha, suicides by farmers in Karnataka. It is reported that India is slowing down in growth. Basically, what these headlines talk about? These are actually expressing the need of understanding and addressing the rural distress in the villages. The distress which the rural areas, with the villages of the country are into. So, looking at the highlights, looking at the news articles, looking at the current condition of the rural areas, we need to, it becomes important for us that we need to talk about rural distress. So, what exactly rural distress is? How do you define it? Rural distress is a period in which natural and man-made disasters have significant impact on the rural society. So, it is a phenomena or a process where it occurs with happening of lot many events on all together in the rural area. Maybe it is a man-made kind of a reason or it is a natural reason. So if there's a famine, the reasons behind famine would be man-made. If there's a drought, the reasons are man-made. So drought occurring in the village areas can have disastrous effects, and eventually what would be the end result of that effect? That it would be leading to distress in the farmer's life. How distress is defined? Decreased income, decreased buying power, decreased demand eventually would help you to understand that what level of distress is in. So particularly rural distress is a condition when the demand of the rural societies, rural areas become weak of the country due to the socio-economic conditions, socio-economic reasons. So whenever if we say there is low demand, what exactly we are referring to? We are referring to the low buying power by the rural people. That means they are not having enough amount, enough income that they can make the purchases. At the other hand, you would be able to see a table which reflects the GDP of agriculture sector and GDP of the economy. And over the years from 1981 to 1982 to 1989, 1990, the growth rate of agriculture was 2.9, whereas the GDP growth rate was 4.7. But if you would observe something here which is alarming for us to understand that we need to talk about rural distresses, that the growth rate of agriculture
has declined to 2.1 in 2010 to 11 to 13 to 14. And what is the impact on GDP? It is positively impacted. I mean, if there's a decline in the GDP growth rate of agriculture, the similar kind of decline is also seen in the GDP growth rate as a whole. So right now, what exactly puts questions in our minds that how exactly rural distress can be addressed? So before moving on to addressing the rural distress as a condition, we need to understand how exactly these things appear and what is the current state of rural distress in the country. So the rural distress in country can be seen from some major parameters, even some major highlights, where they say that groundwater has been excessively used, and it is in the northern states of the country of India. The groundwater is highly used, which is leading to the over irrigation of their farmlands, and that is resulting in the crop damage and also leading to the soil erosion. So over irrigation is a problem. And what is the source to over irrigation? Groundwater exploitation is the source to over irrigation. Then seasonal patterns are mostly severely are impacted by the global warming in the country. The climate change has impacted the seasonal uh, requirement of different crops. That is again leading to lower quality of the produce, or no produce, or the produce is there but that is of no use. The resulting factor is that monsoon on which most of the Indian farmers are relying, they are now getting their fields with no water, because two-thirds of the country population relies on agriculture. And agriculture, if they don't have water, because they don't have sufficient supply of water, then definitely that would not have them with adequate water supply, and end result would be low quality of the produce. Pests invasion has again deteriorated the condition of agriculture, where many pests and insecticides and pesticides, if are used, that deplete the quality of the agriculture produce, which is actually not of the good quality. It cannot be overlooked that India now has over 1 lakh villages without power. So without these fundamental facilities, how can we expect that farmers would produce large agriculture yields? And also, if they are able to have the output with a huge amount, they are not receiving the adequate prices of their produce. That is again the condition which our farmers are facing. So how to provide solutions to these problems? We look at some more problems in that case.
Hence, in this part, we studied about concept of rural distress and its current status in India. In the next part, we will study about causes of rural distress.
Thank you all for joining.